She lived in a quiet neighborhood. No enemies, no threats, no drama. On a calm Thursday night in Cedar Falls, she ordered takeout, texted her friend, and turned on a movie, just like any other American evening. By morning, she was dead. No forced entry, no stolen valuables, no screams heard. And the most terrifying part? Police couldn't find a motive. Not jealousy, not money, not revenge, nothing. Investigators had a timeline down to the minute. They had digital footprints. They even had a suspect. But they couldn't answer the one question that matters most. Why would anyone do this? What kind of person kills for no reason? Tonight, we dive into a case that shook a peaceful town and left behind a mystery more disturbing than the crime itself. Because sometimes, the scariest crimes aren't the ones with brutal motives. They're the ones with none at all. On an ordinary Thursday night in the small town of Cedar Falls, nothing felt unusual. The streets were calm, porch lights glowed warmly, and neighbors waved to each other the way they always had. It was the kind of Midwestern town where people forgot to lock their doors and left packages sitting outside overnight without a second thought. Emily Carter, 32, was exactly the kind of person you'd expect to live in a place like that. She volunteered at the local animal shelter, worked remotely for a marketing firm based in Chicago, and called her mother every Sunday without fail. Her life was predictable, stable, and by all accounts, happy. On Friday morning, that illusion shattered. Emily didn't show up to a scheduled video meeting at 9 a.m. She didn't answer texts. By noon, her coworker assumed she was sick. By 3 p.m., her sister grew worried. By 6 p.m., police were standing at her front door. Inside, they found Emily lying in her living room. There were no signs of forced entry, no obvious struggle, no stolen electronics. Her purse was still on the kitchen counter. Her car was in the driveway. The medical examiner would later confirm she had been strangled sometime between 9:30 p.m. and midnight the night before. Detectives stood in that quiet house, looking around at framed family photos and neatly arranged furniture, asking the question that would haunt the investigation. Why would anyone do this? There was no robbery, no sexual assault, no vandalism, no rage evident in the scene. Just a lifeless woman in a perfectly intact home. And no motive. Investigators began where they always do, by examining the victim's life. Emily had no criminal record, no restraining orders, no public disputes. Her social media showed hiking photos, coffee shop selfies, and snapshots with friends at local festivals. Nothing controversial, nothing dramatic. Her phone records revealed routine conversations. Her mother, her sister, 2 coworkers, and her best friend, Rachel. Detectives interviewed neighbors first. No one heard screams. No one saw suspicious cars. One neighbor recalled a dog barking briefly around 10:15 p.m., but that wasn't unusual. Security cameras from nearby homes showed nothing except passing traffic. Emily's bank account activity was ordinary. No large withdrawals, no mysterious deposits, no gambling, no hidden debts. She had recently ended a short relationship with a man named Jason Miller. He was cooperative during questioning and had a solid alibi. Security badge records confirmed he was working a night shift 40 miles away. Surveillance footage backed it up. Her coworkers described her as calm and focused. No workplace conflicts. No harassment complaints. Even her dating life was uneventful. Friends described her as cautious and private. Forensic teams processed the house. They found partial fingerprints on a glass in the sink, Emily's. A few smudges on a doorframe, too unclear to match anyone. The strangest detail? The front door was unlocked. There were no defensive wounds on Emily's hands. No bruising beyond the marks on her neck. It suggested something unsettling. She may have known her killer, but if she did, no one could figure out who that might be. And still, no motive. Detectives reconstructed Emily's final day. She worked from home until 5:30 p.m. At 6:15 p.m., she ordered takeout. The delivery driver confirmed she answered the door personally. She seemed normal, polite, even cheerful. At 8:42 p.m., she texted Rachel, "Movie night alone." Finally relaxing. At 9:07 p.m., she streamed a documentary. At 9:31 p.m., her smart TV shut off. There was no activity on her phone after 9:34 p.m. No outgoing calls. No texts. No app usage. Her smartwatch recorded an elevated heart rate at 9:38 p.m., a sudden spike. Then nothing. That 6-minute window between 9:34 and 9:40 became the focal point of the investigation. If someone entered the house, why didn't neighbors see them? If someone attacked her, why didn't she scream? And why was there no sign of forced entry? Police canvassed the neighborhood again, this time asking about anyone walking on foot. One resident recalled seeing a shadow near the sidewalk, but couldn't describe a person. Security footage from an intersection 2 blocks away showed a dark sedan driving slowly at 9:26 p.m. The license plate was unreadable. It might have meant something, or nothing. The more detectives narrowed the timeline, the stranger it seemed. It was as if the killer appeared from nowhere and vanished just as cleanly. A crime committed in under 10 minutes. No witnesses, no evidence, no motive. When there's no obvious suspect, investigators often consider randomness. Could this have been a thrill killing? The FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit was consulted. Though based in Quantico, they assist local departments nationwide in puzzling cases like this. The profile they offered was chilling. If this was a stranger, it was likely someone who had watched the neighborhood before. Someone who knew Emily lived alone. Someone patient. The lack of forced entry suggested she opened the door willingly. The absence of theft suggested the goal was control, not gain. Strangulation, the profiler noted, is intimate, personal. It requires proximity, eye contact, physical pressure. But there was no evidence of obsession, no stalking reports, no strange messages, no unknown callers. Police checked sex offender registries, interviewed recently released inmates, reviewed unsolved assaults within a 100-mile radius. Nothing connected. The theory of a random predator terrified residents. Yet statistically, random murders are rare. Most victims know their killers. Emily's case refused to fit either category neatly. If it was someone she knew, they were hiding it flawlessly. If it was a stranger, they left no trace. And the town of Cedar Falls stopped sleeping easily. Weeks turned into months. Then a forensic re-examination uncovered something small, but potentially critical. Under Emily's fingernail, technicians found a microscopic fiber. It wasn't from her clothes. It was dark blue, synthetic, and industrial in texture. Lab testing suggested it came from heavy-duty upholstery, like that used in commercial vehicles. Suddenly, the dark sedan caught on traffic footage became more interesting. Detectives searched DMV records for dark blue or black sedans registered in the county. Hundreds. They narrowed it to owners with minor prior offenses. Still dozens. One name stood out, Daniel Reeves. He worked as a delivery contractor, owned a dark blue sedan, lived 3 miles away. He had no violent criminal history, just a DUI from years ago. When questioned, he denied ever meeting Emily. He claimed he was home that night, but phone tower data placed his phone near her neighborhood around 9:20 p.m. He insisted he was passing through. There was still no DNA match, no fingerprints, no witness identifying him at her house. And crucially, no reason. He didn't know her. Or so he said. Investigators dug into Daniel's digital life. His browsing history showed searches about how to clear phone location data days after the murder. He had visited online forums discussing unsolved crimes. Still circumstantial. Then came a breakthrough. Deleted from his laptop, but recovered by forensic specialists, were cached images of Emily's social media profile. Not one, not two, over 30. Screenshots. Saved weeks before the murder. Daniel had never messaged her, never liked her posts, never followed her publicly, but he had been watching, silently. When confronted, he claimed curiosity, said he sometimes browsed local profiles randomly. There was still no physical evidence placing him inside her house. No DNA, no eyewitness, just digital breadcrumbs and a fiber that could not definitively be tied to his car. The district attorney hesitated. Without a clear motive, juries are unpredictable, and this case still had a haunting gap. Why her? After nearly a year, prosecutors decided they had enough for an arrest warrant. Daniel Reeves was taken into custody without resistance. The news shocked Cedar Falls. People wanted resolution. During interrogation, Daniel remained calm. He denied entering her home, denied touching her, denied harming her. He couldn't explain the fiber. He couldn't convincingly explain his presence in the area. But he stuck to one claim: coincidence. Prosecutors built their case on timeline, phone data, fiber analysis, and digital obsession. Defense attorneys attacked the lack of DNA, lack of witnesses, lack of motive. In interviews, friends described Daniel as quiet, reserved, socially awkward, but not violent. The question echoed in court filings and press conferences alike. What would push a man with no history of violence to kill a stranger? Or was he even the right man? The trial began 18 months after Emily's death. Prosecutors argued premeditation. They suggested Daniel had fixated on Emily online and escalated from digital stalking to physical intrusion. They emphasized the fiber evidence and cell tower data. The defense countered with statistics about transfer fibers and unreliable location pings. They highlighted the absence of DNA, fingerprints, witnesses, confession, and most importantly, motive. The jury listened for weeks. Emily's family sat quietly behind prosecutors, hoping for justice. Daniel showed little emotion. Experts debated probabilities. Analysts discussed digital footprints. But when closing arguments ended, the case felt fragile. Because circumstantial evidence can suggest guilt, but motive makes it believable. And this case still lacked one. After 4 days of deliberation, the jury returned. The courtroom held its breath. Not guilty. Gasps filled the room. Emily's mother wept. Daniel walked free. Legally innocent. Publicly suspected. The district attorney stated they respected the jury's decision, but believed the evidence pointed clearly in one direction. Without a confession or new forensic breakthrough, the case stalled. Technically open, emotionally unresolved. Cedar Falls moved on, but cautiously. Doors began locking at night. Security cameras appeared on porches. And people stopped assuming it can't happen here. Because sometimes, there is no clear motive. And sometimes, that's the most terrifying part. Emily Carter's case remains unsolved in the hearts of many, even if legally it ended in acquittal. It challenges one of our deepest assumptions, that terrible acts must have understandable reasons. We find comfort in motive. Jealousy, money, revenge, passion. Those explanations allow us to categorize danger. But what if the motive is obsession without connection? Curiosity turned dark? A fleeting impulse that leaves devastation behind. Crimes without motive feel chaotic. And chaos frightens us more than evil we can label. In the United States, thousands of cases rely on circumstantial evidence. Technology helps, but it cannot always reveal intent. The question why may never be answered in this case. And perhaps that is the final lesson. Safety is not guaranteed by familiarity. Kindness does not shield against hidden fixation. And sometimes, justice is limited by what can be proven, not what is believed. If there's one message to carry forward, it's this. Stay aware. Trust instincts. Document concerns. Because not every predator announces themselves. And not every crime comes with a reason. But every victim deserves to be remembered, not as a mystery, but as a life that mattered.